Welcome to H360 Health Talk. I'm here with a returning guest, Elizabeth Duplay. This is, I think, Elizabeth, your fourth or fifth appearance on Health Talk?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, the first couple, we were H360 Live. Remember, that's
Yeah.
when we were back in the 8th Avenue office in New York. And we were doing it live with you and your friend Katie.
Yes.
And we were talking about preparing for college and how to manage your time and all those great things. But now you're back in New Jersey on fall or winter break, actually.
Yes.
And back home for the holidays. So how was the semester?
It was good. This was the first semester that I have been in school that I also had a job. So that was kind of an adjustment, figuring out how to manage, going to work and going to class and having time to, also relax and do what I want to do. So that was definitely my biggest struggle of the semester, but I do love my job and love working while I'm going to class. It gives me stuff to do instead of just sitting in bed watching Netflix.
Boy, I hope you're not doing that. So when you were here last time or the time before, we were talking about managing your time at school and stress levels of preparing for exams and finals and all that. So, but now you have a job. So do you think that added a different layer of stress on top of what you already had?
At first, definitely, just because, like I said, it was an adjustment figuring out, when I can take naps, or if I have an 8 a.m., am I going to have time to nap before work, or when am I going to have time to eat? So just fitting the little stuff like that into my schedule was kind of difficult, but I do find that having a more structured schedule does allow me to get more done. I plan ahead a lot more. I work, on average Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So knowing on those days I'm going to be working and those hours I'm going to be working allows me to make my schedule around that. So it helps me plan a little bit more, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So is the stress a different kind of stress? You've got a supervisor, I would imagine, at work, and you've got things that you have to do and quotas you have to meet. So is that the studying is one kind of stress and trying to keep up your grades. And then for a while you were a walk-on the crew team. And so you were rowing quite a bit. And I remember you saying that those 5 a.m. Practices were really killers. So is the job a different kind of stress?
Yeah, luckily my boss is super great, and she understands that we are also students as well as working almost full-time hours in the leasing office. So she does understand that sometimes we won't meet every single deadline. She just expects us to do our best and to kind of be on top of it and let her know, hey, I have a big exam. I'm not going to, have enough time during the week to finish all of my calls that I have to make or whatever it may be. But they're also great in the sense that if, the leasing office closes, let's say at 6 o'clock, they do allow you to stay after we close, and you can stay clocked in and just kind of do a little bit more work after the, regular day is over. They'll let you stay if you, need to play a little bit of catch up, which is another really nice thing. Gives you a little bit of leeway.
So it's good to hear that your boss is consider it in that way and knows that, first of all, you're there as students first. So she takes that into consideration. So what are some of the trigger points? So let's say you're talking with a student and you're now going to be a junior, right? You're a junior at Alabama. And let's say you're sitting down with a freshman, an incoming freshman, and you're talking about how to integrate into the school and manage stress and manage your time and all those things that we've talked about on other Health Talk shows. What do you say to that student in terms of, look, there will be some signs and you may not notice them, but you want to be aware of them, that maybe your stress level's getting too high and you need to manage it. What are some of those triggers?
Something that I recommend everyone does is get a little planner. And at the very, very beginning of the year, when you get all your syllabus, you get all the dates of all your exams, all your homeworks that are due, all your assignments, just write them all down in a calendar so you can physically see your deadlines approaching. Because that's something that I think a lot of people have trouble with, is in high school, teachers are very, they remind you a lot. Okay, this is when your test is, this is when your paper is due, this is, all this stuff. But in college, it's you go to class and it's not really talked about. You're supposed to just know, your online homework is due on this day. And if you forget it, that's a 0 and they're not going to go back for you. It's just your responsibility to know. So I would definitely recommend, doing that to avoid, when deadlines are approaching. And a lot of the times in college, the exams just all fall within like a week or two of each other. So you'll be having like 5 exams within a week or two. So if you're really like unprepared and it just creeps up on you like that, that can be like a huge stressor, because then, you know, you're trying to cram and you're not really sleeping, you're not eating, you're just focused on that studying and getting that work done. So I think definitely planning ahead for the semester, like right when you get there, is like the number one thing that I would recommend, that I find that helps me a lot.
So you've had some other changes in your life recently. You have adopted a dog from a shelter, Dixie, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, we've had a couple of health talks and some daily doses and things where we've said, you know, pets are a stress reliever as well. Do you find that, you know, maybe getting out and taking Dixie for a walk or just throwing a ball around the apartment or something, you know, playing with Dixie helps also relieve some of the stress?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a big responsibility to have a pet at school. And so it's not all just like cuddles and, you know, relieving of your stress. It is stressful to think while I'm at work for 5 hours that the dog's at home by herself. She needs to be let out. So like that can be stressful. But like you said, it is like the cons definitely are less than the pros. You know, going home and her being excited to see me makes me happy, even if I've had a bad day. And like playing with her is really awesome. And like just having her there with me, especially if like my roommates are off studying or doing something, it's you don't feel as alone, which I think helps a lot. I think feeling alone at college is absolutely the worst thing that could happen, because you don't have your parents, you don't have your familiar friends, and everyone else seems like they have all their life together, but no one else really does either. But it's really easy to feel alone and feel isolated. So having her there with me, you know, it just feels like someone else is there hanging out with you.
Now, if somebody's feeling alone like that, and let's say they don't have a dog, are there programs at the university that people can go to? Are there counselors that somebody can talk to, or how does that work?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, every college has or should have, you know, kind of like a mental health center, like a counseling center where you can go and you can sit down and talk with someone. I know some programs are better than others. I know at Pitt, my old school, there was a little bit of a problem with like a wait list because they only have so many resources available. And I feel like I haven't been to the counseling center at Alabama, but had I gone, I feel like that might also be a problem, just because Pitt and Bama are like really big schools.
Yeah.
So you can only have so many counselors for so many students. So you know, what I would recommend is, even if you feel like you don't need it in the beginning of the semester, when stress is pretty low, go in and let someone, you know, learn your name and learn your face and kind of know who you are, so that when the more stressful times of the semester, like midterms and finals, do come along, you know, and every single person wants to be seen, you're not like just another name on the waiting list. Someone might recognize your name and say, oh, I know this person, or like you might have regular appointments already scheduled and set up. So I think planning ahead, you know, is definitely the way to go for that.
Yeah, you know, when your first year, when you were at Pitt, I used to enjoy coming up and watching the football games, and I used to really enjoy watching James Conner play football. And you know, we've talked about this in the past, that he, you know, was a cancer survivor, is a cancer survivor, and he was going through treatments while he was in school. So he'd be in the chemo chair in the morning, and then he'd go to 2-a-day practices, and you know, talk about a stand-up guy. And now he's playing with the Pittsburgh Steelers and playing in the NFL. So let's talk about something that, in regards, and we're going to try to weave this into Health Talk and Alabama football. A year ago, Alabama was playing Georgia, and things weren't going so well. And, you know, Nick Saban, the coach, at halftime comes out and makes this drastic change, takes the starting quarterback that's gotten them to a couple of playoffs in the past out of the game and puts a true freshman in as quarterback to take the team into the second half, and they end up winning. And, you know, it always says something about a person. I look back at Jalen Hurts, and he could have left Alabama.
Yeah, people thought he was going to. Everyone thought he was going to transfer.
Yep.
But he graduated.
But he didn't.
Yeah.
Right. And so he persevered. You know, there's things that, you know, you kind of step back, and everybody wants to think they're the center of the universe, and at one point in time.
I mean,
but he said the team is
such a high
bigger.
profile school, and you know, you got a lot of people looking at who's going to be doing what, and the press is talking about who's better and, who's going to get the boot and who's going to start. So, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So what do you think that, if you could put yourself in Jalen's shoes for a minute, how do you think he felt about that? What do you think were some of the qualities that he has that had him pause for a minute and say, you know what, this is where I need to be?
Yeah, I think it definitely was hard for him to be taken out of the national championship, especially considering the year before he kind of blew the championship to Clemson. Obviously it wasn't just him, it was a team effort, but taking him out of that national championship and putting Tua in to win it all was definitely, it had to have been hard for him to see that. And they're probably, he was definitely happy for Tua, but obviously he would have rather it been him, being the star. Like you said, everyone wants to be the center of everything. But I think at the end of the day, Saban does a really good job of letting the team know that it's not about you. It's about the team and the program and the franchise and just the name Alabama. So I think that Jalen knew that it would have kind of been a cop-out if he had left, in my opinion, just to go somewhere where you're going to, see a little bit more playing time. And in the end, look what happened. A year later at the SEC championship, Tua comes out and Jalen comes in to save the day. So I think that you really can't make that, you can't make that stuff up.
Right. Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. So I think that in the end, he did realize that the waiting and the patience and, understanding that there was a bigger plan above just him, the coaching had a plan for him and all that stuff. So I think that he kind of just sat back and for once was like, it's not about me, it's about the team, and they know what's better because they are the coaches. He's not the coach.
Yeah. So seems like you're working a lot. You wrapped up the semester in a great way.
Mm-hmm.
You'd mentioned the other night at dinner that it was all A's and 1B, so congratulations on that. You're also heavily involved in a sorority on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Which sorority is that?
Pi Beta Phi.
And you were telling me that your sorority is involved in a lot of charitable work in and around the town of Tuscaloosa and doing some things. Talk to me about some of the charity work you're doing.
So our sorority's specific philanthropy is literacy. So each sorority and fraternity kind of has their own philanthropy that they work for. So ours is literacy. So we, do a lot of school supply drives because the Tuscaloosa area outside of the campus is very, very poor. They're not very well off. They need a lot of help because, the school is really the only thing that's in Tuscaloosa. So we do a lot of school supply drives to, help the kids who don't afford all the different cool folders and binders and stuff. We bring that to them. And on top of that, we have an elementary school where we go to once a week every Friday afternoon and we read to the 3rd grade class. So we'll do book drives and we'll bring them a bunch of different books that they can read and we'll go and we'll read to them and they love it. They love when we come. Because a lot of them, both their parents might work or both their parents might not be around. So they like to have someone who's there to read to them and help them, if they're struggling.
That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There was an interesting article that Doug from our team found the other day that said 92% of the New Year's resolutions never come to fruition. Only 8% of the people that set a New Year's resolution actually achieve that. And those are some big numbers. And we were talking about, kind of amongst us in the office, what are some of our personal New Year's resolutions. So mine, once again, unfortunately I fell into that 92% last year with the weight loss thing, but I'm going to make it going to try extra hard this year to get some pounds off and live a little healthier and get a little better quality sleep. So I'm going to put you on the spot here. What's going to be your New Year's resolution? Are you going to have one, first of all? And if you are, what might that be?
Yeah, I never really do New Year's resolutions, mostly because, like you said, most of them just kind of fall through. So I'd rather not set a goal that I know I won't make. I haven't really thought about if I were to make one. I guess it might just be, obviously continue to do well in school and work and make all the time for all my responsibilities. Honestly, I really don't know what I would make mine. Maybe to go to the gym more regularly because I, find that working out is a big, way to relieve stress and it makes you feel good. You never feel bad after you leave the gym. You never want to go, but after you leave, you're never like, oh, I shouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
So maybe trying to go to the gym on a little bit more of a regular schedule, because in the beginning of the semester, I always go so often, like almost every single day. And then, school starts picking up a little bit and I just stop going.
Yeah.
So I think that would be something, because obviously the sorority feeds us and they feed us good. So
yeah.
Probably shouldn't be like snacking so much and go to the gym a little more.
Yeah. Good point. Well, Elizabeth, it's always a pleasure to have you stop by and chat with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and best of luck next year in school. You'll be rolling into your senior year soon, and then there'll be some decisions to make, whether it's graduate school or you want to take a little time off to travel a bit, but then entering into the workforce. So keep us posted, and when you're back in town on summer break, please stop in and catch us up on what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, roll Tide.
Yeah, roll Tide.
All right.